Ash, I'm so glad Geordi Forge fixed Star Trek's bad Commodore problem in Picard Season 3. For decades, Star Trek has had a strange problem with admirals and commodores. From the original series through the next generation, and even into the modern streaming era, Starfleet's upper ranks have been portrayed as overly bureaucratic, morally compromised, or outright antagonistic. The franchise's captains, noble, rebellious, sometimes flawed, but always deeply human, stood in contrast to the cold, rigid officers above them. This created a thematic tension, but also a recurring trope: if a Commodore or Admiral shows up, expect trouble. Then came Star Trek, Picard Season 3, and Geordi Forge. With a quiet dignity and principled heart, Commodore, or rather, Commodore equivalent division head Geordi Forge fixed this trope. He reminded us what a Starfleet officer could look like at the highest levels of leadership. No scheming, no cowardice, no hidden agendas, just competence, courage, loyalty, and love. In one masterstroke, Geordi turned Star Trek's most frustrating pattern on its head and gave us a leader worthy of the uniform. I never realized how badly I wanted that until it happened. The curse of the corrupt Commodore. Let's be honest, Star Trek has had a Commodore problem since the beginning. Back in the original series, Commodore Matt Decker in the Doomsday Machine was an unhinged, grief-stricken liability. Commodore Stalker in The Deadly Years made dangerously uninformed decisions. Over the years, admirals and commodores became synonymous with wrong-headed authority, whether it was Admiral Layton trying to seize power in Deep Space Nine or Commodore O turning out to be a secret Romulan infiltrator in Picard Season 1. These characters existed partly for narrative necessity, to create conflict, to raise the stakes, to give our beloved captain someone to defy. But this trend had a side effect: it warped the vision of Starfleet. The higher you rose in rank, the less trustworthy you became. The admirals became speed bumps or villains, not role models. It was the antithesis of the Federation's ideals. The problem only got worse in the modern Trek era. Discovery and Picard leaned into this motif hard. Authority figures were often corrupt, clueless, or complicit in galactic-scale disasters. Starfleet felt less like an idealistic future and more like a shadowy bureaucracy. That made it all the more refreshing and radical when Picard Season 3 handed the keys to one of the franchise's most reliable and ethical characters, Geordi Forge. Geordi's return, not just a cameo but a statement. When Picard Season 3 reintroduced Geordi, he wasn't just the Enterprise's chief engineer anymore. He was now Commodore Forge, head of the Fleet Museum, a father of two, and a living legend. The show could have easily made him another obstacle, a by-the-book officer who denies Picard access to the museum's ships or refuses to help in the name of protocol. But showrunner Terry Matalas made a bold choice. Geordi would be a good man, even at the top. We first see Geordi in Season 3, Episode 6, The Bounty. The old crew is on the run, and they need help. Picard turns to an old friend, but Geordi hesitates. He doesn't rush in phasers blazing. He has a family now. 2 daughters, a legacy, and responsibilities. For a moment, it seems like the show might tread familiar ground, another former ally turned obstructionist. But that's not what happens. Instead, we see something much rarer: a man conflicted not because he's weak or corrupted, but because he's principled. Geordi's reluctance doesn't come from fear or ambition, it comes from love. Love for his daughters, for his crew, and for Starfleet. And once he sees the full picture, the threat to the entire Federation, he acts. Not because he has to, but because it's who he is. A leader who listens, leads, and loves. Once Geordi commits, he does so with every ounce of strength he has. He risks his career. He steals a ship. He throws himself into the fight not just to save the Federation, but to stand beside his old friends. And once he's back, calm under pressure, brilliant in crisis, and willing to do what needs to be done. But more than that, Geordi shows us what real leadership looks like. When his daughter Sydney struggles to prove herself, Geordi doesn't dominate the moment. He listens. When Jack Crusher's dangerous talents become known, Geordi doesn't demand he be locked up. He empathizes. When the rest of the crew is on the verge of despair, Geordi is a steadying presence. He is not perfect. No leader should be. He argues with Picard. He worries. He hesitates. But every action he takes is grounded in Starfleet's highest ideals. Protect the many, do no harm, serve the truth. It's a far cry from Commodore O's scheming duplicity or Admiral Marcus's warmongering in Star Trek Into Darkness. Geordi leads with heart. The power of continuity and character growth. What makes this redemption of the bad Commodore trope work so well is that it's not just a new character parachuted in to fix the pattern. It's Geordi LaForge, someone we've known for decades. We've watched him grow from a shy helmsman in the Next Generation Season 1 to the brilliant, confident engineer of the Enterprise D&E. But in Picard, Geordi isn't just older. He's wiser. He's still an engineer, yes, but also a father, a mentor, and a leader. He's seen too much to be naive, but not so much that he's cynical. His time in Starfleet hasn't hardened him, it's deepened him. And because we trust him, we trust his rank. Geordi wears the Commodore title without arrogance. He embodies the best version of what someone in that position should be, someone who has earned their authority through service and integrity, not ambition or manipulation. In doing so, he reminds us that Starfleet's upper ranks can be aspirational again. Fixing more than just a trope, Geordi's portrayal in Picard Season 3 does more than fix the bad Commodore trope. It also helps realign the moral compass of modern Trek. For years, fans have argued that the newer series sometimes forgot the optimism and ethical clarity that define the franchise. Geordi stands as a counterpoint to that trend. He is proof that Star Trek's hopefulness isn't naive, it's powerful. His scenes with Data, now housed in a new, more human-like synthetic body, are especially moving. There's warmth, reflection, and closure. When the old crew reunites, Geordi is never a side character. He's central to the operation, to the emotional stakes, and to the legacy of the Next Generation. He isn't just present, he's essential. In an age when nostalgia can be weaponized for cheap fan service, Picard Season 3 used it for something deeper. Geordi's return wasn't just to check a box, it was to show that the values he represented still matter. That decency and discipline aren't incompatible. That you can be both a loving father and a commanding officer. That Starfleet, at its best, is a place where people like Geordi rise to the top. What the future should learn from Geordi. As Star Trek looks to the future, whether it's with Strange New Worlds, Section 31, or whatever comes next, it would do well to learn from Geordi's arc in Picard Season 3. Leaders don't always have to be flawed or compromised to be interesting. Conflict doesn't always have to come from betrayal. Sometimes the most compelling drama comes from watching good people wrestle with hard decisions and still do the right thing. It also helps to remember that characters age, evolve, and grow. Geordi didn't become a hero overnight. He built that identity across years of hard work, quiet excellence, and personal growth. Seeing that payoff, not just in the warp core, but in his heart, is what made his redemption of the Commodore archetype so powerful. Let's hope Star Trek keeps giving us characters like Geordi LaForge at the top, not just because the story needs them, but because we do. In a world filled with uncertainty, cynicism, and distrust of